Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Harmon Speaks. We've been out a couple weeks, but that's okay. We wanted to bring you a quality show, and we did. Today, we have my friend Michael Yates back with us. I know the women are watching going, yeah, we've seen him. Yay, we spent. Yeah, shut up. But anyway, we are celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month again this year, and Michael's here to talk to us about the issues. Every time he's on here, I learn something, and I hope you do too. So let's get into this. Hi, Michael. How are you?
Thanks for having me back, Gary.
I'm glad to have you, buddy. Glad to have you in the chair. Thanks for wearing the shirt, dude. Look at this, man. Yeah. Check this out. That's awesome.
Every year, it's worth celebrating with even by wearing a shirt.
No,
People will ask, tell me about that shirt. So.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. Because that's basically what I'm going to do. Tell me a little bit. First of all, tell me where you work. You got to plug the place.
Ridgeview Behavioral Health. The main center is located in Oak Ridge, but we serve Fentress, Scott, Anderson, Roane, Morgan, and Union County. So.
And other than clean the bathrooms, what do you do?
Oh, yes. Now, I am a good bathroom cleaner, I have to admit. I do wear lots of different hats in the agency, everything from coordinating events to supporting the strategic planning, the social media, grant writing, and press releases.
Okay. So do all that. That's incredible. Well, let me ask kind of a general question and we'll hone in.
Sure.
The pandemic's been over about a year or so now. How has the mental health horizon changed?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question because there's always this lag, I think, in data and statistics kind of coming out. It seems to be delayed about a year, sometimes two.
Okay.
But I think one of the byproducts of the pandemic is that it did sensitize people to being comfortable talking about things like anxiety, stress, loneliness, isolation. And that the result of that has been, as we've emerged out of the pandemic or are emerging out, people are more comfortable. It's a little less stigmatized than it was before. So we've come a long way, but we've got a long way to go still.
Right. A lot of people are still afraid to talk about it, you think?
I think certainly as it relates to substance use issues, that and of course feelings of suicidality, thoughts of suicide still carries a pretty significant stigma.
Yeah, okay. All right.
But people are more inclined to ask for help now, which is a good thing.
And tell me how they can get help at Ridgeview.
Yeah, they can call our 1-800 number or our main number, 865-482-1076. That gets you into our network. Of course, our website has all of our numbers. That's ridgeview.com, www.ridgeview.com. We also have introduced a chat component where between the hours of 9 and 4, if people have a question, they can go onto the website and ask a question about a service, where to get connected, how to begin treatment or care.
All right. Now this is strictly a hand thing, but I notice you always type when you talk about the internet. So
yes.
For those of you who didn't know how to use it, you might want to type. That's good.
Or I think nowadays it's this.
It's not for me. I can't read those little things. I always have to shorten my son. What am I reading? Okay. All right. But you do still see a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of those things going around?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Before the pandemic, it was about 1 in 5 adults would experience a mental health need during a year. During the pandemic, it went up to about 1 in 4. Most related to anxiety, stress, depression, those kinds of things.
Right. What do you think's stressing us out so much?
It's a great question. I think, and I'm not sure that I have the answer. I think we all sort of have.
There's lots of them, right?
Yeah, it's a constellation of factors. I think, in my observation, things are happening and information is pouring out at such a fast rate. We are overwhelmed with chatter, with noise, with words, with just information. It's just so much to digest,
Right.
and that can be stressful.
Right.
And especially trying to figure out, you know, what information is true and what information is not true, and who do I trust and who do I not. So I think that certainly comes into play.
I see a lot of people talking about the value of it being truthful.
Mm-hmm.
If it reflects what they believe, then they're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And that worries me. That adds to my anxiety, because I'm not obviously not a man of science, but I'm a man that believes in rationality, and I want facts.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into a discussion with somebody the other day, and he's like, "Well, I believe in this." We're not talking belief.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about something else, something more tangible. And he just couldn't do it. He wanted to talk about his belief. So, and I think a lot of people get stressed by that.
Mm-hmm.
They turn on the news and say, "Is this news, or is this pandering to a particular group or a particular interest?"
That's right. And there, I think you said it well in regard to confirmation bias.
Right.
People will spoon feed, and then they get the algorithms that continue to feed what their biases are.
Right.
So I always have to microdose my ingestion of things that are on the internet.
Right.
Little doses, and then get in, get out.
Right. Okay, well, that may be a good, helpful tip for everybody. Now, I read the article you sent me today, which I appreciate you sending me. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it stemmed from coming across a book by Dr. Tom Insel, who used to be the Chief Medical Officer for the National Institute of Mental Health, and of course, he comes from a psychiatric medical understanding, but part of his story was being exposed to people who were living on Skid Row in California, and it dawned on him in some of his conversations with folks that medical treatment can be great. Medical diagnostic has value, but they're medical interventions, a drug, a therapy, those kinds of things. And it doesn't really take into consideration people, place, and purpose.
Right.
The value that those things can have in helping people heal from a disorder they may have, a condition they may have, that's part of our overall health, our attending to those things as well.
I've noticed as a retired person that holding on to purpose has helped my mental health a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just sit at home and decide to read books and pet the dog. The dog finally dies and you run out of books. But he did, I'm sorry, she did. But anyway, it was sad. But anyway, I found keeping a purpose in my life, like this show and the other things I'm doing, is keeping me wanting to be motivated to move forward.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know why I had to be so old before I understood that, but that has really been a big help for me.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you feel like you don't have a purpose, where can you look for some help with that?
Right. Well, you bring up a great question. And I don't know that any of these things are not mutually exclusive in that sometimes they work in concert. Finding a purpose is somewhat dependent on being connected with people that can help you identify that purpose. Or be in a place where you feel safe enough and supported enough that you can then, that Maslow hierarchy of needs. I don't have to worry about shelter, food, what I'm going to eat. I can now think about something that gives me meaning to get up each and every morning. And so they work in consort. But to answer your question, certainly people find that on their own, with their own circle of influence, whether it's formal or informal. But sometimes people need more help. And so a place like a community mental health center or outpatient therapy, talking with a professional can help people identify and clarify what is it that's going to help me believe that tomorrow is better than today. That gives me direction, guidance, a reason to get up and get going.
Absolutely. I really like that. I was going back a few weeks ago, I reviewed some of the videos Neil and I have done together, and a theme kind of jumped out at me. And I've thought about this all along the way, but it surprised me how predominant the theme was. That we have a lot of people in the disability community specifically who feel like when they get outside of their sphere of comfort that they're getting into a hostile world. And it isn't hostile like it is to other groups, because I don't think anybody grows up becoming prejudiced against people with disabilities. It's just kind of something that you run into and react maybe badly, and you don't really know what you're doing or care. And so I think that's a problem. But I've had a lot of people say they are literally afraid to get out because they don't want somebody to come up if they're in a wheelchair and kneel down and start trying to treat them like a child. Or if they see somebody like me who looks differently, they're going to ask 1,000 questions when you're just trying to get your groceries and get home. Do you have any suggestions for folks like that?
So, I mean, I think there are a couple of things. And again, I don't know that any of these work without sort of being nested within some other steps. The conveyance, I think one of the reasons that the world can seem so threatening and unsafe for lots of different people is the absence of feeling, the conveyance of belief that they're worthwhile, that they're capable, that they're lovable. Just those, it sounds like something, well, that's sort of what you give kids. But I think it's those very things that we even experience in adulthood. The very same things we experience in adulthood that help us feel the world is not, the world is safe enough for me to be in it and to be part of it. And so I think that's one thing, is making sure, are you identifying ways in which you experience warmth, comfort, love, safety, capableness, responsibleness, those kinds of things. Because I think without a reservoir of those things, I'm not sure you ever really will feel, wow, the world can provide for me and it is safe out there, and my fellow human being also has my better interests at heart. And I think sadly, I think I worry sometimes that it's a diminishing thing in not just families, but in neighborhoods, in communities, in government, in legislatures, you name it.
Well, how many communities really know each other anymore? I mean, I know a few of my neighbors because of the pandemic. I get out and walk around with my wife, and people will come out and say hi to us, and one of them, white Catherine, couldn't have married a handsome man. And I remember.
Come on, Clinton.
I remember you. But anyway,
but I ask you, I mean, you strike me as a very self-assured, confident.
True.
You have a positive self-regard and a positive self-concept. What has helped you hold on to that and keep it, and gives you the sense that it's a safe world for you to be out there in it?
Well, I think it starts in childhood. I had a mother who loved me unconditionally. I've watched her battle on my behalf. It's hard not to love a woman like that. I had a grandfather who was a great model for me. He married my grandmother. They dearly loved each other, even in the old age when you kind of wander off from that. They never did. They loved each other dearly. And I had teachers who really saw something in me and would encourage me. You know, I would answer questions when everybody else is staring at the ceiling, and they'd come back at the end of the class and go, "You really got that, didn't you?" And they would encourage me.
Yeah.
I noticed as I got older, they would pull me forward. You know, come up here and talk to the class about. And we would talk, and I do that, and I realized I liked public speaking.
Yeah.
So when I went into teaching, you can't be shy and withdrawn and be a great teacher. I mean, you could try, but I don't know how you do it. As I stood in front of groups who could literally tell me how horrible they thought I looked or how dumb they thought I was, and I just smiled and say, "Yeah, but I'm here, let's go." Boom.
Yeah.
And you just have to pull through. So that's been my life, you know. And I'm grateful for it, you know. I've gotten old enough that I can look back and say, this is not just a rough road, this is the right road, this is the way I developed.
So it's a scaffolding
It
over
is.
your entire life of those experiences.
Right. And one thing I want to do, and I'm going to say this on camera so the viewers can hear it, what I'm trying to do now is to build a community of people with disabilities. I don't care what your disability is, we're not going to card you at the door, come on in. And I want us to sit together and talk about our issues and encourage each other. I want that to happen. I tried to do a workshop a few weeks ago, and we didn't get the attendance we needed, so it didn't happen. But I don't give up quickly. And I want to keep trying, because I think a lot of people with disabilities hear that and say, I don't want to go do that. But that's because they haven't experienced it. And when you do sit with colleagues who've been through what you've been through, there's a real support there that nobody else can give you.
Yeah.
You know, my wife and I love each other dearly. She didn't grow up with a disability, so she's had to learn from me about that. And I've had to learn about her experiences. So I feel like the community of people with disabilities would help one another better really than anyone else.
No, you're right. And I think just like we are at Ridgeview, you know, though we are in health treatment, I think, you know, back to the point about people, place, and purpose.
Right.
If we can imbue treatments and health care with ingredients of people, place, and purpose,
Right.
I mean, I think we position more optimal health all the way around.
Right.
And certainly in whatever population of disability, the same ingredients would hold true. Is, have we considered not just addressing the disability,
Right.
but have we really given thoughtful consideration to ways to imbue people, place, and purpose into their life and to wrap it around their life. I think that's a great opportunity for us.
Right. I think it really is too. Let me ask this. If you see somebody that you think is in trouble, and I'll let you interpret that way, it may be anxiety, depression, suicidal tendencies, whatever they may be. How do you intervene in a kind way to be helpful?
Yeah.
How do you do? Can you help that?
Yeah. Well, I fail at this all the time, but I try, given our shared faith, I try to view anyone I encounter as literally my brother or sister, my sibling,
Right.
as a child of creation. So starting with that as a beginning point, it helps posture me to be open to seeing this person who may be in need in a completely different way. Not in need because they have a problem, or I don't want them to be my problem,
Right.
but how can I help my brother or sister? So I say that first because I think it all begins with where we are. And there are times when I'm just in a bad place.
Right.
And it would not be a good time for me to try to intervene with someone in need. I could make things worse.
Right.
So I think having a level of insight, of self-awareness about am I in the right place to see what's going on.
Uh-huh.
Kevin Hines, who was one of the few people who survived from jumping off of the Golden Gate Bridge
Right.
when he was suicidal, he has always said throughout that day, he kept waiting for one person, just one person to ask, "You don't seem well, are you okay?"
Right.
And he describes all these occurrences on the public transit,
Right.
on the bridge.
And no one asked?
No one ever asked. People would, will you take a picture of me while I'm standing at the,
Right.
But he's
Wow.
like, he's tearful, he's clearly distressed,
Right.
and he just wants one person to show enough care to ask, hey, are you all right? What's going on? And I think about that a lot. That a lot of times all we need is that one person to give a darn,
Right.
as they say.
Right. Right. Well, it seems to me that we always worry about the stigma around mental health, and we're afraid to go get it or afraid to talk about it openly, and that's all true. But it's also true that we're afraid to even acknowledge that it's an issue. And we see people every day that need help and don't know how to get it, or they're not willing to get it unless that friend comes along, puts an arm around the shoulder and goes, let's talk about this.
Yep, surrounding yourself with the people.
The people.
There's that people piece.
Yeah.
The connections. We're hardwired for attachment and connection. We need to lean on those and use them to help each other.
That's
out.
hard to do.
It is.
People aren't programmed to do that anymore.
Well, yeah, especially today
Right.
with the messaging that's out there about you're either in my tribe or you're not.
Right.
So I'm only going to listen to those that are in my tribe.
Right. That's just a scary thought to me. I've seen my tribe. Harmon tribe is not treating people. The ones my wife gave birth to are lovely, but the rest of them, Don't worry, they're all gone. They don't hear this. But anyway, I really appreciate you coming to talking to you about this. I think this is something we need to think about more than just this month. And I know you do, and I appreciate that very much.
Well, you bring up a great point. There are three of us in this room right now. And the three of us don't really fully know what burdens the three of us just walked into that door with.
That's true.
Truly.
That's true.
And if we just, for a moment, any room we walk into, just were aware of that very truth.
Right.
Back to truth.
Right.
None of us know the full weight of burdens that any of us may be bearing at any one time.
Right.
And it's important to check in with and just be aware of that.
But I have found as I've gotten older that if I'm honest when I answer the question, what are you going through, it scares more people than it causes them to be my tribe.
We have to keep working at it.
Right.
Keep working at it.
That's right. That's right. I have one more question. We're going to pull this to the close. And this is not a mental health question, but I can't have you in here not talk about music just once. I want you to tell me one older band that does not get the attention it deserves today.
Well, only because he just celebrated his birthday. I think it was his 78th birthday 2 days ago. People may feel that they do receive too much appreciation, but Pete Townsend with The Who just had his birthday, and I think people have forgotten the rock operas, Tommy, and Quadrophenia, just what new paradigm setters they were with the use of synthesizers and yeah, that different format of a rock opera.
Right, right.
So yeah, I would say the Who.
You know, that's one of my favorites. You know, Tommy set me free years ago. It's a story about a boy can't see, can't hear, and can't speak. Right? Has all three, and he's locked into his own little world, and his parents can't communicate with him. They're the ones that caused it, but let's go beyond that. And suddenly when he breaks through that, he doesn't know what to do. And he thinks he does, but it doesn't really work, does it?
Yep.
And I find that a wonderful allegory about what life is like for people with disabilities. It's a lovely piece.
Yeah.
And the fact that Pete Townshend came up with that's pretty amazing. So that's a good choice. I like it. Good job. Thank you for coming. I always enjoy our conversations.
You too, brother.
You're a good man. We're glad to have you. So thank you for doing this. We will be calling you next May. So clear your calendar.
I look forward to it. Always. It's an annual tradition.
And we'll stick around and talk as long as you want. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate it. Please like, please subscribe. We're trying to build our numbers again. Please help us by supporting what we're trying to do. And let's build a community with people with disabilities where we can rely on each other, trust each other, and grow healthy with each other. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.